My name is Mark Blevis. I maintain a blog on the role digital plays in politics, public affairs, advocacy, activism, campaigns of all sorts. I also interview politicians, members of parliament, provincial politicians, municipal politicians on the role that digital plays in public engagement, democracy. So I've done the writing, I've done the audio recording, I have done some video, but I've never done video interviews, which brings us to today. I have sat down with all the candidates in the Ontario election for Ottawa Centre. That's my riding. It is a beautiful May day, and while I'm sitting here in my backyard, the candidates are out campaigning. They are out at community garage sales, knocking door to door, flipping burgers, kissing babies, shaking hands, doing the things politicians do. But they are doing more digital. And that's a trend that we've seen since 2011. For here in my own riding, when I spoke with all the candidates in that election. They were at the time Yasser Naqvi, the Liberal incumbent, Robert Decker, the PC challenger, Anil Naidu, the NDP challenger, and Kevin O'Donnell, representing the Green Party, challenging as well. This go-around, we have a little bit of a change. We have three of the same challengers, and it's a nice little community that has been built among them. So again, they are Yasser Naqvi, the Liberal incumbent, Robert Decker, the PC challenger, and Kevin O'Donnell, the Green Party challenger. Now, we have a new entrant. Replacing Anil Naidu for the NDP is Jen McKenzie. I've had the opportunity to sit down with all of them and my video camera in the last week, and I've assembled this collage of interviews. Little pithy comments and insight that they offer into the role that digital is playing in their campaigns and how digital will play a role in democracy as it unfolds. For the candidates, Mr. Naqvi, Mr. Decker, and Mr. O'Donnell, they also offer insight into how things have changed since the last campaign. Jen McKenzie used to be a school board trustee, and she talks a little bit about the role that digital has played in public consultation. Now, I'm not releasing the full interviews of each of the candidates at the moment. This is a collage, highlight clips, if you will. If anybody is interested in me releasing the full length of the videos, I am happy to do so. It takes a little bit of time to put these things together, so I thought I would put this one out first. Depending on response, we can dig a little bit deeper. Here, now, are clips from Yasser Naqvi, Robert Decker, Kevin O'Donnell, and Jen McKenzie.
My first campaign was 2007. A lot has changed definitely from that campaign to 2014 because 2007, Twitter did not exist. Facebook was there as a medium available. YouTube was just getting there as a common use, which was fairly relevant in 2011 and so is in 2014. What I find in this campaign, there's more and more people on Twitter who are engaging in a conversation. Facebook is not as much of a tool today than Twitter is. And even YouTube, I'm finding is people watch stuff, but there's not that big demand for it.
This last election, Twitter and even Facebook pages were just starting to be accepted as a norm. And now this time, between elections and federally throughout the whole thing, now everyone is on Twitter. And really, actually, probably the difference is Twitter has broken ahead as far as political and breaking news, and that's where you go for what's happening now. Facebook is kind of where you put things for posterity so that people can catch up over the week for people that just check at night or something. But I think the diehard news hounds and news consumers and political consumers, they're going to Twitter now.
I've really put more of a presence going into Twitter, Facebook. We've really been more active on our candidate page. We got renominated in June of 2012, so since June of 2012 we've made our Facebook page for the candidate of Ottawa Centre be the focus of where we wanted to send all our messages. Twitter has been very active for us. I remember the conversation we had in 2011. I still haven't mastered Google+. I use Google+ mainly as a message board, and I'm not engaged a lot in Google+. I started using the Hangouts a bit, and we may try to use a Hangout, but Google+ is still a mystery for me.
In fairness, I think it's a mystery to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think Google+, Facebook covered that area of what Google+ wanted to be. I think Google Hangouts, on another hand, which is really YouTube. That's got huge potential. I've used it not for Green Party stuff, but helping other people with their panel debates and stuff. And Hangouts was perfect. It worked flawlessly. So I think there's potential there.
Getting the Central Party's message out through my website, through Facebook and Twitter, that's a great way to pass on the messages to the people who follow me on the various media. I find Twitter to be a difficult place to actually debate because some of the issues are quite complex. And it's very hard to condense it down into a very few characters, a particular position, because it can be quite nuanced.
Well, the strategy is simple. There's no secret. It's to talk to as many people as possible. And the way I've always done things is that you've got to have a well-rounded communication strategy, which is complemented by, of course, social media. So using Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. But you never use that to replace the face-to-face engagement that is essential. So when it comes to knocking on doors and being out there and being at community events and talking to people, that's something that I've been doing non-stop since 2007. Of course, it's complemented by having conversations through Twitter as well and other social media.
Online media here in Ottawa Centre is about the really engaged communities, whether it's the biking community, whether it's the community associations. The really big one is the convenience store and the beer and the convenience store community. They've been pretty aggressive in their online campaigns as well. At least a tweet a day to all of us, Jennifer, Yasser, Kevin, and myself. Well, so are you for it? Are you not against it? So they're the aggressive ones. But what I found has been really good with the online campaign and the online media is people who are supporting cycling in Ottawa. They're asking the direct questions. Alex DeVries from Citizens for Safe Cycling. They're asking the questions about the Safe Roads Act. About cyclists. They're really pushing to get answers. So they're the people that are, at least when I see on my feed, they're the ones that are asking the questions and trying to make the bigger impact on the local issues.
You have to be able to adapt to the particular situation. I have responded and said, this is not the best way to engage on this particular issue. I'd be happy to sit down over coffee. Different circumstances, different types of questions get different types of responses.
You don't just campaign and talk to people come election time. You engage with people from day one.
Well, I think for us, the number one thing is to get out and meet people and talk to people on the ground. So nothing replaces the handshake and the discussion that I have with people at the door. And digital media supports that process, and anything we can do to make sure that we're addressing the concerns that we hear, or we're putting out a message that we want people to be aware of. We will use that in conjunction with canvassing and with meeting people out on the street.
For Facebook, you have to put a picture with it because it's a more visual medium that goes by slower, and people like the images and look at it and click like, and then clicking like on an image brings it back into the news cycle for particular branches of the Facebook following stream as friends see friends' content. Whereas Twitter is much more short term, and you tweet it and it's gone. And only the most successful tweets will even be there the next day, still being retweeted. So Twitter I use much more conversationally. I'll jest with people on Twitter. It'll go back and forth for a little while, and then the new topic will come up. So I treat Twitter as a place to comment in real time. Whereas Facebook, it's a little bit more formal, where I'll Facebook a photo that says a particular message. But I'll take the time to make sure it's a well-formed paragraph with better grammar. And Twitter's a lot more fun because spelling mistakes are accepted, they're even mocked, and then you can mock back, and there's a dynamic there that's, for me, more entertaining. I really enjoy Twitter.
What I see more is people are highly engaged at the municipal level because of some of the things that have been going on over the past decade in Ottawa Centre. People are quite engaged at the federal level. They haven't really thought a lot, on a daily basis about what goes on provincially. And so the election campaign is about getting people engaged, starting to think about the issues. And part of the challenge is moving people through that process to get to election day. So that's part of the strategy from my perspective.
Not everyone's always going to agree with what you're saying, but the fact that you reply is enough for them to say, okay, you're engaged and you've given me an answer.